So welcome everyone, welcome in the Rebirth Sessions. I wanted to shift over directly to the meditation to stay just in this quiet place that we entered into, and so I'm going to share that with you. I live by the grace of God, which is my sufficiency, not by external things or persons. In the presence of God is fullness of life, and I no longer am dependent on people, thoughts, or things, since I am consciously one with my creative principle, God, Spirit. And because of this realization, my life is spiritually governed and guided, spiritually fed and spiritually lived. It is the impartations from God which constitute my bread, my wine, my water, substance, my resurrection, and the harmony of my being. I live by the grace of God, which is my sufficiency. Wow. I live by the grace of God, which is my sufficiency, not by external things or persons. In the presence of God is fullness of life, and I no longer am dependent on people, thoughts, or things, since I'm consciously one with my creative principle, God, Spirit. And because of this realization, my life is spiritually governed and guided, spiritually fed and spiritually lived. It is the impartation from God which constitutes my bread, wine, water, substance, my resurrection, and the harmony of my being. I live by the grace of God, which is my sufficiency. So just for a moment we're going to be still with that and see what happens. All right, thank you. Thank you so much for joining in the meditation. Like one exercise came up, but since we have not yet practiced with the whiteboard to write on it, I want to do that another time. But one of the ideas that came up was, I live by the grace of God, and taking that idea to you, like I live by the grace of God, but then using that in the meditation to let a related thought come up. Now, just like we practiced this week, some other moment, like let her see what comes to you when you actually allow that to open up within you. What is the next phrase that is coming to you? So this can be very well. You can do it right now. It's like, I live by the grace of God. So we can be quiet with that for just a moment and see what a related thought comes up. And if you want, you can share that. We can do this right now. So it's like would take a couple of minutes to let that happen. That was great. So we do, in fact, we do now this exercise. So you can write it down, whatever came to you. That's really lovely. And you can share it later. That would be a wonderful idea. So then when you share something that you want to share anyway, you can do that in the meeting. Anyway, so this. Because I love the exercise of doing that, letting something come to you, and this is where this is based on. You could say opening up your inspiration, and now we have, in fact, a whole bunch of to the human mind, controversial ideas. I live by the grace of God is one of them. It's like, that's a controversial idea. If you think according to human lines, you would say like, yeah, sure, yeah, that's great, that's a lovely idea. And yes, I believe that. But see, that is not enough for you. And that is not enough for me. Because we discovered that you can actually experience that. You got glimpses of it. You got moments in which you completely trust that and see that at work and want to stay there. Stay in a moment in which you realize that you're in some beautiful communication. And so, yeah, it's part of our practice to not to stay there, but more like to release everything that's in the way continuously. So in terms of reversal of ideas, since we're still a bit in that, it's like reversal is then such a beautiful term, or reverse, because this is a reversal in thinking. So the human, our history, you could say, proved to us that you cannot trust anything, and that you have to survive, and that you have to do your best to, in order to get something. That is not living by grace. And so the reversal then in allowing a new idea to come to you, in fact, by blind faith on the first step, you trust that there's something else. So you don't even know where to put your foot, but you know you have to lift it and place it somewhere else. So this is literally what you're doing in your transformation. This is what you suddenly you see yourself do it. It's like, oh my God, I'm actually not relying on anything that happened before. Now I take a step into a place that I actually don't know. I don't know what's going to come from that. But I trust it, because I know at least that what I've tried so far absolutely did not work and did not give me the safety and security that I was looking for. Now, and I want to be, I want to be in the realization that I'm home, in fact, that I'm allowed to be here, that I can be completely myself without being attacked for it, and that I can be embraced and loved and feel safe, no matter what. Like all these basic ideas, all these basic, in fact, characteristics are yours. But how can I implement them into, how I find myself, or where I find myself now? Because there seems to be distracting things, or there seem to be, this is an interesting way of putting it, like I seem to be proving to myself that it isn't that way. So how can I stop proving to myself that there's something else than the total love of God? Like how can I do that? How can I learn that? How can I train myself in doing so? Now that's a really important part of the reason that we're together, that we're in this together. We're actually going to see that when we come together, there's something very specific happening. Now, since Joel is in town, you could say, I want to share some more of Joel, because he shares in one of the talks the reason why we come together, why it actually is so that there's a remembrance, there's a recognition of that something else together. Now, if I do that by myself, that's perfectly all right too. But if I do that with so-called others and see that it actually works and feel that there's a presence that wasn't there before, like not in my own little room, but I feel connected and I feel a different energy, I feel that I can trust this more and more and more, and I want more of it, then I know that something happened to me that wasn't of my own doing, but it was definitely by my own request. Now, Joe shares about that, and let me try.
There is a value of two or more being gathered together. There is a value in coming together for meditations, coming together for prayer, coming together for study. Why? We are united. We are united in one consciousness. Just think, if 2 or 3 or 4 in this room came to this room after serious meditation and were lifted high in the spirit, do you know that they would lift all the rest of us right with them and up to them? If I be lifted up, shall draw all men unto me. Do you know what it means when a half a dozen people in a room come to that room in the spirit, fully alive in meditation, having received the Holy Ghost, having devoted sufficient time to inner contemplation and communion? Think what it does to all the rest of us in the room. It must inevitably lift us. That is the reason there is benefit in our coming together. As you know, in our work, meditation is the principal part of the work. And I only feel when I have had sufficient meditation that the Spirit can flow, the Word can come. But just remember that if 2, 3, 4, 5 have come with that same measure or some measure of that meditation and inner communion, the greater depth that must take place in the consciousness in this room. And this again illustrates to you, there is no truth in this room. Truth is in the consciousness of the individuals in this room. And the degree of truth is the degree of demonstration of truth that the rest of us experience. It is for this reason that in one sense we are our brother's keeper. It is for this reason that when we come to these meetings, the tape meetings, any of the meetings connected with this work, that our concern should be, what degree of meditation can I take to that meeting? What degree of communion can I attain before the meeting so as to be the light of the world in that room? Since it is the consciousness of the individuals that really constitute the demonstration that we are going to make. There's nothing in this room, nothing in these books. It's all in the consciousness of those of us who are here. And the degree of consecration we bring, the degree of communion we bring, the degree of the willingness to share that we bring, this is what constitutes a healing consciousness, and what makes it possible for some people to go forth from meetings healed, comforted, consoled, sometimes even stumbling into supply. If I were to sum this up quickly, I would say the activity of truth in our consciousness really determines how rapidly we'll heal and be healed. The degree of truth, the amount of truth, the intensity of truth, the depth of truth realized in our consciousness determines the whole aspect of our outer life. Thank you. Thank you.
I love it. It's so great. Thank you, Joel. So this is really interesting. It was like to have some fresh experiences with that. It's really lovely. Some of us were today together in a museum, walking around, and you see in the recognition that we have with one another in terms of communication, that's a continuous thing. It's like we communicate together. And when we enter into a place, say there were like a couple of persons there. It's like somebody who stood at the entrance, somebody who did something else, who wanted to find a reason to come in touch, to make a little conversation, to connect. It's like, wow, the way that you do that, that's so great. Or you do that, I don't know. They didn't even know what they were saying. But they wanted to join in the light. They recognized the light that we share. So it's like, whether it is in a meditation room, whether it is in a museum, wherever you are, in the togetherness of us, it's like that is what communicates. And it is so attractive. That is, you want to be part of that. Now, it's so beautiful to see that live, you could say live at work, and seeing that anyone who feels it wants to join with it. That was literally happening. It's like people are really making things up in order to have to communicate some words to us, to do this, to share this. A pure recognition of the communication that you recognize to be your own. So this is how, in fact, how open and how easy that is what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to necessarily be in a spiritual class in order to experience this, not even that. So of course we meet, and of course we do this, but in the end it is like the communication you recognize. There are ones walking around with you that are communicating with you in a way that you did not expect. So if you're open to that, you see it, and otherwise you don't see it. Now this is really something else. So it's like the outer confirmation of an inner condition, you could say, of an inner recognition, is just very lovely. It's very beautiful. So I wanted to say that it's like, well, it's great to have fresh experiences with that we share. So also today, of course, we do this in this way, which is also very nice. But you see, Joel emphasizes the real part of that. Like, you are one. Why do we come together? Because we are one, and recognize that. That's why we come together, simply because of that. We are one. We recognize that. We admitted that to one another. Yes, we come together. Yeah, to make this remembrance even expand, to let it take over in whatever way. It doesn't matter. So that's really great. And the different ways of expression is always nice too. So I'm curious to hear what you come up with today, who are present here in the meeting, and in order to show us a little bit of that. Like, how does that communicate with me? What actually happens when I let the sentence, like, I live by the grace of God, come to me? What actually happens with me? Well, this is what happens with me. And then it's like, oh my God, that's so great. That's so great. It's like we share the common recognition of that, and help each other to see that in every aspect of our, realization, in fact, of what is true. And however that is presented to you, that is so individual. That's so beautiful. It's like everyone has his own little, you could say, his own mission, his own territory where this is operating. But when we share it, we recognize, oh yeah, I recognize that. But for me, that's in a whole different way, working out a whole different way too. It's like I need to do this, or I feel moved to do that. And that is all part of my, individual expression, because I'm an instrument of God. I receive that ray of light that is shining right through me, and it moves me to this expression. There's a way that is so related to specifically me in an expression of myself. I cannot believe it, but I can actually totally be myself in the expression of that. Like, that's the only way it will work for me. And it is that way. So now let yourself be total, be completely yourself. Absolutely. So you know where you move to, you know what you are resonating with, you know what comes through you. Nobody else knows that. So individual experience is what this is all about. And that's, say, the real setup of this, say, rebirth sessions, is to recognize, yeah, this is my rebirth. This is what I experience in my rebirth. And this is what's being expressed through me. Here, listen. So taking that on for myself. This is expressing through me this way. Not any other way. So it's really beautiful. So there's no competition in it. There's no comparison in it. There's no analysis really going on. But just coming to the pure expression of you. And if that is silence, great, wonderful. If that is some kind of poetry, wonderful, great. If that is a song, lovely, great. If that is whatever it is yours. It is your expression of it. Or your total sense of, I have no idea how to do any of this. In all honesty, in purity, expressing that you don't know how to do this. Wonderful. You know, so it's like there's no right and wrong in it. No, here is where opposites come together, where that can be one. Recognized by you as, I'm accepting myself as I am in the expression of all of this. Because that is literally like my talent, you could say. It's what is given me. And that's for me to let that freely flow. If I disrupt that, then what am I doing? And ignoring that what is coming through me. That's not going to work. So we saw today in the museum one beautiful example of that, which is like Van Gogh. Van Gogh is a Dutch painter, in case you didn't know. He painted so beautiful, it's really great. But he was a pastor's son. So his parents always said, like, well, you're going to be that too, of course. And the painter said, well, there has to be a way that I can paint and be, in fact, be an extension of God. There has to be a way that can be possible. So when I put colors together, it will be poetry. When I'm expressing myself freely, I will feel the love of God streaming through me, bringing that into expression through me. This is me, my language of expressing this. And you see the purity and the spontaneity and the, very individual expression of it. It makes it a masterpiece. Now this is really something else. It's like that is what is yours. It is not this great painter. No, he was just himself. He had no idea of what else he could be. He could only let this express through him. Same with you. It's like that's exactly the same. There's an expression, there's a language coming through you, and you have recognized it by now. You know this too. I'm telling you nothing that you don't know, but it's so great to emphasize it and also stand for it. And it's like, okay, yes, I take responsibility for that because it is given me to do it. So that's the warming up for the expressions of the rebirth session. So we continue with the non-public part, in which we express something, it is inevitable. That would be the same as, well, don't forget to behave. It's like, well, I always behave. I cannot not behave. So that's the same. All right, so thank you so much for, say, your attention so far, for participating in the meditation. And we say skip over to the part 2, and which is the non-public part. Thank you so much. Antagonism is senseless if you know yourself as everything. Separation is rupture in relationship. Joining does reverse. Mind chatter is like entropy admiration. Be still and listen. Where full dispersion changes into mindfulness, creates happiness. Outside imbalance, inside recognition saves senses mesmerism. Compromise is shared disorganization of comfort and safety. Unpredictable is existing in time-space. New vision gives grace. Awakening comes with heavenly defiance, free of social laws. Instability of former habits, patterns, open a new way.